Hello friends, let us now learn about chronic laryngitis. So what do you see in chronic laryngitis? As the name says, there is chronic for a long period inflammation of the larynx. The cause is not known, but the risk factors it can be due to smoking, it can be due to pollution, smoking, pollution, chronic cough, smoking, pollution, chronic cough, voice abuse, and also chronic sinusitis. Smoking, pollution, chronic cough, voice abuse, and chronic sinusitis are the risk factors. What are the risk factors? Smoking, pollution, chronic cough, sinusitis, and voice abuse will cause chronic laryngitis. So, the chronic laryngitis are of two types. One, we have hyperemic laryngitis, where there is congestion of the larynx, whereas hypertrophic laryngitis, where the cells will grow in size. So in the chronic laryngitis, first important thing is the pseudostratified ciliated epithelium which is present. The pseudostratified ciliated epithelium which is present, this will change into the squamous epithelium. Here the pseudostratified ciliated epithelium will change into the squamous epithelium. So this will result in the leukoplakia of the squamous epithelium of vocal cords. So this is chronic laryngitis. Then next important disease is we have contact ulcers, are also called as pachydermal laryngitis, or also called as contact granuloma. In contact ulcers, pachydermal laryngitis or contact granuloma, first and foremost, it is due to faulty voice production. In this, there are arytenoids. The vocal process of arytenoids which are present, they rub against each other. So, because vocal processes of arytenoids will rub against each other, and this will result in presence of ulcer-like depression will be found. Because the vocal process of arytenoids will rub against each other, leading to ulcer-like depression. Now, what about the etiology? Etiology is the main reason is because of voice abuse. It occurs due to voice abuse, and also it is seen in patients who smoke, and who drink alcohol. Okay, and here it is also seen in GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, allergy, and idiopathic causes. And it is also associated with chronic throat clearing or infection post nasal drip. In all these cases, pachydermal laryngitis can occur. Most important thing is lesion. Here you will see presence of granulation tissue will be seen. Heapy saucer-like granulation tissue. Heapy saucer-like granulation tissue is seen, and the site of medial edge of the vocal cord at vocal process. At the medial edge of the vocal cord at the vocal process, you will see presence of saucer-like lesion is seen. Okay, and this lesion is actually bilateral, and it is even symmetrical. So it is seen in males more than 30 years of age, and the symptoms is mainly the hoarseness of voice is the symptoms. And if you do a biopsy, you will see presence of acanthosis is seen, and hyperkeratosis is seen in these patients. Then if you see the treatment is you will have to ask the patient to do voice test for some period, and also voice therapy may be required. And treatment for psychological stress, if this is caused by psychological stress or GERD, you should treat accordingly, and you should ask them to avoid alcohol and smoking for smoking. Okay, one important thing is there is no epithelial change in pachydermal laryngitis. Actually, if you remember, in the chronic laryngitis, the epithelium changes from pseudostratified ciliated epithelium to squamous epithelium. That change is not seen in pachydermal laryngitis. Okay, next, let us now learn some important points about atrophic laryngitis. So what do you see in atrophic laryngitis? In atrophic laryngitis, here there is atrophy of laryngeal mucosa. As the name says, there is atrophy of laryngeal mucosa, and crust formation is seen. It is due to the Klebsiella ozanae. Here the respiratory epithelium, which is actually the respiratory epithelium is made up of pseudostratified ciliated epithelium. But this will This respiratory epithelium, which is pseudostratified ciliated epithelium, this will get converted into squamous epithelium. So there is squamous metaplasia is seen in these patients. Okay, and one more thing, the cilia which is seen normally, that is also lost. There is loss of cilia, and even there are some mucus secreting cells are present in the middle. Okay, these mucus secreting cells are also lost. Okay, then the most common site of this atrophic laryngitis is, it is seen mainly in the false vocal cords. You will see the atrophic laryngitis, and it is also seen in the posterior region and in the subglottic region. So it is most commonly seen in females, and there is hoarseness of voice is seen, dry irritating cough, and dyspnea is seen due to obstruction of crusts. This also shows blood-stained thick mucus discharge with foul smelling, and bleeding of mucosa is seen. Now, how are you going to treat this atrophic laryngitis? It is treated by, so the underlying cause can be due to poor nutrition, or it can be due to infection. So first of all, you should treat poor nutrition and generalized infection, or else you can give, but for the crusts, in order to loosen the crusts, you should give glucose in glycerin is given. To loosen the crusts, we give glucose in glycerin, or you can also give oil in pine are given actually to loosen the crusts. Or you can also, you do a microlaryngoscopic removal of crusts can also be done. Microlaryngoscopic removal of crusts can be done. Or you can also use give some expectorant with NH4Cl or iodine. This NH4Cl or iodine will help to loosen the crusts. So this is about the atrophic rhinitis or atrophic laryngitis, or also called as laryngitis sicca. Then if you see, the next important thing is tubercular laryngitis. If in tubercular laryngitis, it is associated with obviously Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It is also associated with pulmonary tuberculosis. Okay, most common site of the tuberculosis larynx is mainly in the posterior part of the larynx, and that too it is more common in interarytenoid region, followed by it is common in ventricular bands, followed by it is common in vocal bands, followed by it is common in epiglottis. So it is common in interarytenoid region, then ventricular bands, vocal cords, and epiglottis. It is common in interarytenoid region, followed by ventricular bands, then vocal cords, then finally epiglottic region. Then here you will see that the patient suffers from weakness of the voice, periods of aphonia, and referred otalgia are seen in earliest cases. There is periods of aphonia, weakness of voice, and referred otalgia is seen. Hoarseness, cough, dysphagia, and adrenophagia are also seen in these patients. On examination of larynx, you will see that there is hyperemia and ulceration of unilateral vocal cord. On unilateral vocal cord, there will be hyperemia of vocal cord, and also there will be ulceration of the vocal cord is seen on the unilateral side. In one vocal cord, you will see hyperemia of vocal cord and ulceration. This is the first thing. And you will also see that there is impairment of abduction is seen in the patients. The vocal cords are swollen also with undermined edges. The edges will be undermined like this. So this undermined edges is called as mouse nibbled appearance of vocal cord. There will be mouse nibbled appearance of vocal cord is seen. And also if you see the epiglottis will have an edema, that too pseudoedema of epiglottis occurs, which is called as turban epiglottitis. This is called as turban epiglottitis is seen. Even the interarytenoid region will become interarytenoid region swelling will occur. So if interarytenoid region swelling will occur, and that is called as mammillated appearance is seen. So these are the main clinical features. Then if you see the chest x-ray, on diagnosis is first and foremost, because it is associated with pulmonary tuberculosis, you should do a chest x-ray to see the pulmonary tubercular lesions, and then you can also do sputum for AFB can be done. Then what about the treatment? The treatment is you can give anti-tubercular therapy can be given to the patient. Then the next important thing is about the lupus of the larynx. So this lupus of the larynx is actually an indolent TB infection. Lupus of the larynx is indolent TB infection which is associated with the lupus of the nose and paranasal sinuses, lupus of the nose and the pharynx. So this is a painless condition and it is mostly asymptomatic and it has good prognosis also. It is painless condition, asymptomatic with good prognosis. Next we have syphilis of larynx. In the syphilis of larynx, it is of 3 stages. The first stage is we have primary syphilis, then we have secondary syphilis, then we have tertiary syphilis. In primary syphilis, there will be mucosal ulceration will be seen in the primary syphilis, and there will be formation of primary chancre which is painless and it is painless. Then in secondary syphilis, you will see presence of many multiple vesicular and papular lesions will be seen. And in tertiary syphilis, you will see presence of gamma formation. So this syphilis is most commonly seen in which part of the larynx? It is seen in the anterior part of the larynx involving the epiglottis, and it is also seen in the anterior part of the larynx involving the airy epiglottic fold. It is seen in the anterior part of the larynx involving the epiglottis and airy epiglottic fold. The next important thing is about the leprosy. So leprosy of the larynx also affects the anterior part of the larynx only. Leprosy also affects the anterior part, and here mainly the supraglottic region is affected first. Then the lesion will be dull grey in color, and this supraglottic region, especially the epiglottis in the supraglottic region, it is destroyed, and thus it gives an appearance of hook appearance is seen over a bottle hole. It is seen as hook appearance on buttonhole. It is seen as hook appearance on a buttonhole. So this is leprosy. Then we have one more important thing which is called as Ringke's edema is seen. So what do you see in Ringke's edema? Ringke's edema is there is swelling of the vocal cord is seen. So if this is the vocal cord, you will see swelling of the vocal cord will be seen in Ringke's edema. The part of the vocal cord, there is symmetrical, bilateral symmetrical swelling of whole of the membranous part of vocal cord occurs due to edema of subepithelial space. This occurs mainly due to edema of subepithelial space. The etiology of Ringke's edema is mainly it is due to the chronic irritation of the vocal cords will be irritated. So that will result how does that irritation of vocal cord occurs? It is due to the voice abuse, and then it is due to the heavy smoking, sinusitis, chronic sinusitis, and even laryngoesophageal reflex or gastroesophageal reflex. So all these will cause Ringke's edema. This Ringke's edema is actually seen in the age group between 40 to 60 years. It is associated with the most common symptom. If you were asked, the most common symptom is hoarseness of voice is seen, and the patient uses false vocal cords for voice production. Instead of using the true vocal cords, he uses false vocal cords are used by the patient for voice production, and as a result the voice will be low pitched voice will be there, and there is rough voice will be there. And you will see on examination there will be bilateral symmetrical enlargement of vocal cords are seen. Then what about the treatment? Treatment is decortication is done. That means if this is the vocal cord, from the side you will remove a small strip of epithelium is removed from one side of the vocal cord while preserving the vocal ligament. You will just remove a small strip of epithelium in the vocal cord while preserving the vocal ligament. So this is about the Ringke's edema. Thank you.